Hello everyone, my name is the Radman and we are back for another courseplay tutorial. So in this tutorial we are going to be using an upscaled version of baling, and we're going to do square bales, round bales. I don't actually know how easy they are to courseplay just because they can roll down to the end of the field. And with square bales, they're pretty predictable. But anyway, so obviously the first thing we're going to do is we need to be in fieldwork mode. And now this part is important. So first, what you'll want to do is always make sure that you have your rake folded out all the way. And if you can, make it so that your rake and baler are like right next to each other in the thing, and I would even have it do it while you have it down. But what you want to do is have it auto figure out, like, you know, the radius or the working width of that. Holy cow, I don't know where on earth I got radius from. And then I always just check to make sure it actually calculated it right. So 19 meters is the correct one for this. So now what you want to do is go down to the baler, set it in fieldwork mode, and then give it a working width of 19 meters. I forgot you can just scroll your mouse wheel. Let's see. And 16, 19. There we go. And this will make it so that your baler, which if you can, I would use a baler that doesn't need any like special off to the side deals or anything. Make it so that your baler and rake use the same course, because that way you'll always get all of it except for the stuff that you always miss at the top. So now we have field 16. We're starting on the northwest, and we're going going east. Yes, okay. I sometimes have problems remembering which of these is which, and then we're going to save this course as field 16 raking. And yeah, a lot of this will be similar for small baling too, and then this is gonna be silly, and you don't have to, but you can auto generate a course for the baler, but I just have them run on the same course. And now we'll go over here, and this is actually the really important one, where if we had like 16.2 meters or something, this is where it would cause problems, because this also needs to have a working width of 19 meters to effectively pick up the bales. And in fact, it's arguably the more important one, because the baler you can just load a new course. This one, you can't just load a new course because you'll have problems, because here you want to return to the first point in which you did the course, because once it fills up you want it to go to the offloading point, and if you don't have it set right it won't do that. And we're going to show all of them for this particular one just because it kind of helps demonstrate my point. So again, we're starting on the southwest going east. There we go. And now you'll see that I think I started it on the wrong side. I did. Whoops. Then we just need to make this the northwest going east. That was the one problem. There we go. So as you can see now, instead of it just stopping over there, now it's going to come back here. So this one, now we need to save it as field 16. I just call it bale haul. And then what we're going to do is, since that rake needs a while, we'll just do this next part. And we want to make sure that we are in, let's see, trying to remember what mode it is. I think it can just be in fieldwork mode, and then it'll do this automatically. But yeah, because fertilizing and seeding is a different mode entirely. So now we're going to unload that course and start recording a new course. And this is the course that the what's it called? bale stacker is going to take if it's full. Or sometimes it also does this just because it randomly decides to. And yeah, the reason, by the way, that I'm putting out this tutorial so late is I ended, my farming sim series, and then I totally forgot about this series until today when I was working on putting the farming simulator episodes into a playlist. And then what you're going to do is, now I'm trying to remember, you have to set a waiting point. Ooh, but I think you're supposed to, let's see, pause the recording a second. I believe what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to set the waiting point at where the trailer needs to be. So we actually need to go back a few steps. So let's move the tractor here. And yeah, that's because the waiting point is where it's going to offload. So if we set the waiting point here, because I usually make them backing up, but it's impossible to back up into that shed. And if you don't want to use that shed, if you buy like a mobile shed or something, like for instance I use quite often these this guy, you'd basically do the same thing, though I would recommend, if it's something that needs to be backed up into, either use a conveyor belt or make sure that you place it in a place with a long straight path. And I'll probably show you how to make both versions of this course. And obviously if you were actually making a course and you'd have like machines running, don't go by the like granary like I did, because you'll probably eventually have a grain truck and one of these collide. But it's fine to do it if you're only running an example operation like I am. So then we'll stop here, and then we'll save this as field 16 bale sell shed. And now we'll remake the course, except I'll show you how to remake it backing into something like this placeable straw power plant. So we'll buy one of those, and for the sake of simplicity, I need to get it somewhere that it's pretty level. So we'll put it here, though that's a terrible place if you're actually doing it, but like I said, this is just an example. So now what we're going to do is we're going to record another course, and I could start the baler running, but I don't want to have to worry about it and the rake hitting, because I don't know yet if the rake what it did on the end, because it is sometimes really weird. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around, and this is very, very important, because in reverse mode, which I'm going to set the tractor to, it uses the waypoints on the back of the trailer. So what we actually want to do now is unhook this trailer and then drive back, because the problem is that in reverse mode it treats the end of the trailer like the front of the tractor does in driving mode. So I'll hope that I've done this right, because it's kind of different from vehicle to vehicle. But now what we're going to do is we're going to back up, and it said it's best if you do it without a trailer on and you make very small adjustments, and I'll show you guys why when I actually run this course. But basically what you need to do is get as close to you as you can to the back of this, and you want it to set a waypoint back there, and set a waypoint, and ideally it'll offload correctly now. And then you go back into forward mode, and we'll pick up the trailer in a minute, but then basically you just drive back here and then you stop. There we go. And then we can save this as field 16 bale sell backup. And yeah, obviously you'd name them something more creative. I just find that if I name my fields by the field number, it helps me keep track of all of them. And now this is the part that most people will mess up on. What you need to do now is you need to get bale haul, and you always load your course where you're loading your bale first, and then you load your next course, and we'll just leave that there because we need to now get some bales actually. So we'll turn on the baler, then we'll just have it start over here, because if the baler's already on, it'll automatically just pick up where it needs to go. And yeah, the reason I'm using an in-game vehicle, by the way, because in my series I used one that would rake up the hay that the rake missed. But the bales on that, they kind of had physics issues, and this is just to prevent the physics issues. But one thing that we're going to do now is, this is very important to keep in mind, we're going to make this show all of its waypoints, because if there's two, okay, there isn't, but if there was two waypoints right next to each other on this end one, it would cause serious problems. But luckily for us, this field is a nice shaped field. Most of the fields in Hagenstad or Bjornholm, whatever map I was using, I think I was using Hagenstad. No, I was using Bjornholm in my series. But basically, no, I was using Sosnovica. Whatever one I was using, they were just oddly shaped enough that it caused me quite a few courseplay issues. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this out here. And one thing to keep in mind is you need a lane offset because of this. I said because of this. There we go. And it's about 2.5 meters. You need to drive about 2.5 meters to the left, I believe. And if not, then it's to the right. So now we should see stop driver needs to start at the first waypoint, or else it gets really confused by the waypoints. Okay, so yeah, that's right. So now it's going to drive here, and it's going to do the right thing. Anyway, guys, sorry about that. So we've got a few bales loaded. Hopefully we actually get a full load, because later on we'll see that, like, you can tell it to like drive now and stuff, but that causes some pretty big issues. And yeah, this is another weird thing that it does if it auto generates a course, is for some reason they like drive perfectly straight across. They don't like turn in an arc like they usually do. And this is just a disclaimer, if you have too many bales too close together and it's like this auto stacker, sometimes it will not register one bale properly. Like if it's in between, like that, if there was a bale right where it stopped, sometimes it won't register that properly and it won't get picked up. But that's very, very rare usually. And we're at 10, so I'll be right back once it gets full. Okay guys, I'm back. So as you can see, we are on bale 15 out of 16, and it looks like we should have 2 loads because I wanted to test both courses. Okay, and then once it gets done with that, now we're going to ideally have made that course correctly. So since I pretty well, when I did figure out how to do these type of courses, I pretty well set up every single course that involves baling and bales in one day in my series. And yeah, that was fun. It took forever. And that's just because you pretty well have to make a course for each individual field. Just because, you know, some courses, like, you can have the trucks auto detect the combine like a few hundred feet away. It usually just depends on the path that courseplay decides to take. And hopefully these tutorials will hold up for 2017. I think what I'll do is I'll try and get all the tutorials out within a week, which is a week from yesterday was when the game's going to release. So hopefully I can ideally get all these tutorials out before the game releases, and then I'll probably have like an updated tutorial if anything changes when the next version of courseplay comes out. At least that's the tentative plan. Of course, things could get interesting. But yes, and one thing to keep in mind is, yeah, they back up really, really slowly, so I would recommend don't even try doing anything else with the field until this machine has done its entire job, because they go really slowly sometimes. Okay, so now it's going to unload, and this is what I was afraid of, is it's not going to drive back anymore because I didn't want to get the tractor stuck in that. And yeah, this is the point where I would use a conveyor belt or something, or maybe just have like a tractor standing there to push the bales in, or ideally just download an actual shed instead of this thing that I found, the straw power plant. Now this shouldn't cause any issues. The bales are stuck, so we'll just try and shake them off. But now we'll load another course. And by the way, the only way to really make it work with one of those types of buildings is to drive your tractor all the way into the back, get it stuck, and then pause the course, reset the tractor, and then resume. Now the one problem with me doing that is now that I probably should drive this manually, so we'll try the bale cell shed. And I'm kind of worried about this shed because those conveyor belts are really finicky. Like, sometimes they unload the stack without tipping it over, sometimes they don't. But yeah, that is the way that you would do a one of those courses where you need to back up to unload the bales, which you know, you need to actually do quite often. No. Start at nearest waypoint. But yeah, you do need to actually do that quite often usually. And fingers crossed, hopefully they put a shed that you can either drive through or has its own conveyor in 2017, because I think either 2013 or 2011 had its own conveyor belt, but I might have been playing an off-brand farming simulator game at the time. But yeah, I do know that depending on how well made like the conveyor is, or it also depends on what bales you're using, because some bales are just a little bit bigger than the models that get put on this trailer. So for instance, I had a modded baler that I really liked, but whenever I would put the bales down, if I didn't sell them directly right then, they would like shoot into the sky because of how broken they were. But anyway, I'll be right back once this gets the rest of the bales. Okay, here we go, everyone. We're just about to pick up the 16th bale. And I don't know if you guys can actually see my clock, but it has been 8 hours since I recorded the last thing I recorded on this episode. And that is just because I dealt my dad with something and it took all day. But now I have time to finish this up, and I was hoping to get this video posted so that, you know, today it could, you know, maybe get comments or something. But I'm for sure next going to do how to do the seeding and fertilizing routes, just because the routes are so similar that I may as well do them both in one video. And now we're going to see if this works. I was just going to say, I was thinking about it, and I think that since I'm not in reverse mode, that waiting point's going to cause problems. Yeah, so we're manually going to just drive forward. And another thing that I remembered is that building is really, really low as far as like a bale selling point goes. And here we go. Yeah, that's what I was afraid would happen. No! Okay, yeah, this map is pretty well just a pain in the butt to deal with bales, but the good thing is they at least are feeding properly. I was worried about them clipping through that, but it looks like they're fine. And yeah, you might just want to have a tractor or something, because the good thing is if you had the waiting point in the right place, you could just drive into it with maybe like a weight or something on the front, and it would push the bale on there and get collected. But yeah, that's how it does. And then if you don't have to stop it, it'll just keep going and automatically figure out where it left off in the field. But anyway, I'm gonna call that an end to this episode. We'll just bump this. There we go. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. So yeah, the one thing to remember is make your waiting points. Make them, if you're going forward at the start of the trailer, like at the end of the trailer, your tractor needs to be at the waiting point. But if you're backing up, then the waiting point needs to be where the back of your trailer will be, which if you use like the modded this thing, that could cause some problems. But if you just get a shed or something that has a sell point in it, you probably can just drive through and set a waiting point and have it automatically sell. Though I'm not sure how if any of those mods actually exist, because I just used the straw power plant. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. My name is the Radman, and in the next episode, I'm going to be showing you how to set up seeding, cultivating, and fertilizing. So I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.